Well, we'll start now, inshallah. Uh, we'll complete the functions of banks today, and then we'll move on to the new topic. We stopped here last week. We were discussing about the functions of the bank, and in this regard, we discussed the 4 transformation functions of banks. Now, just to for a quick recall, let's try to understand this in a very good way, that banks are financial intermediaries. They are in between the lender and the borrower. We also saw 2 definitions of banks in the last class, and we know now very well that the 2 main functions of the banks are what? By definition, in principle, the banks perform 2 functions, main functions. One is lending and the other is borrowing. This is what the banks do. They are in between the lender and the borrower. So, what they do, they help the lenders and borrowers in multiple ways. They help the lenders and borrowers to avoid, you are right, Abdul Malik, provide loans and take deposits. So, what they do, they help the surplus units and the deficit units to reduce the transaction cost. They help both the types of units, lenders and borrowers, to avoid meeting each other, because the meeting will make the process long. So, the banks reduce that process by taking deposits, collecting the deposits and giving loans. So, let us see again the transformation functions, and then we will move on. Some students who are not speaking can mute their audio, okay, because it will disturb others. And when you wish to speak, you can start your mic. So, the lenders and borrowers have different needs. Lenders want money at a specific time, and if you give the money before or after the need, it is not useful for the borrowers, isn't it? So, the borrowers have special needs and the lenders have their own special needs. The banks help them in both the ways. So, both the lenders and the borrowers are helped by the bank. How are they helped? Number 1, the transformation of size. So, money is a small, lender or the borrower? Small size money belongs to the depositors. So, the depositors will always be less in comparison to the borrowers. The loan taker, the person who goes to the bank to take loan, if now you can do one thing, you can just try to get the average loan size of any branch of bank. If you can access to, you will see that in practical also you can find it, that the size of loans is average size. Average, you understand, average, ausat, wusat. So, average is the mean of the loan given by the banks is much higher comparison to the mean of deposits. So, there are many depositors who deposit money in different quantity, and there are lesser borrowers who take high amount of loans. This transformation is done by the banks. You got it? Number 2, as we have already studied that borrowers need money at a particular time, and they can also return the money at a particular time. They cannot return, if you ask them tomorrow to give back the money, they started a business with the money. Now, if you go and tell them that we need money now, it is not possible. So, the maturity of both the lenders, the need for maturity for both the lenders and borrowers are different. Banks help in this function also. Number 3, risk taking. Depositors do not want to take risk. That is something very basic. We have already studied it, and you all know very well that there are surplus units have two options. One, they can invest. 2, they can deposit the money in the bank. What is the basic difference? In investment, they take risk. For that, they do not need to go to banks. They can even go to mutual funds, share market, but they go to banks to deposit the money because they just want to save their money. They do not want to take any risk on their money. So, that means depositor side, the risk is 0. The ability to take risk is 0. On the other hand, the borrowers take money from the bank, but there is high chance that the borrower, the loan taker, is not able to return the money. So, in between, what happens? There is a risk which has to be managed. This is also done by the banks. You have got it? Understood? Number 4, liquidity transformation. Liquidity, as we know, the conversion of the asset into cash. Depositors want it very quick, whereas the borrowers will return. The bank's liquidity will be different than the depositor. They have to transform this, they have to manage it, so that whenever the cash is required by the depositors, they can pay on time. These 4 functions are performed by the banks in terms of transformation. Transformation means what? The need of the borrower and the lenders are matched by the banks. Is that clear to all of you? So, we can now move on to the next part, which is a major function of the bank. The banks are able to help the lenders and the borrowers to reduce the transaction cost, both the depositor and the borrower. When they participate in banking, there is a cost. So, you have a staff, you have employees in bank who register, there are computers, electricity, branch. Where does this cost come from? And if I do it personally, I suppose I am a lender, I need to give money to someone, I want to give loan. There will be so many, and there is no borrower nearby. So, what will I have to do? I will have to go and find the borrower, take his information, all the details, do the transaction, bear the cost, and the cost will be higher compared to an expert, because I am not a professional lender. So, what will happen? My cost will be much higher than a professional lender. So, one of the major functions that banks as financial intermediaries do is that they reduce transaction costs. How do they do? In this thing, although you must have studied earlier in economics, both micro as well as principles of economics, that there are two concepts, two basic concepts. One is the economies of scale and the other is economies of scope. So, before I explain to you, let me know from you, what do you understand? Have you heard about these two terms, economies of scale and economies of scope? If you know, then tell me, or even just make a guess if you know what is meant by economies of scale. In economics, we have not studied this. not just in economics, we have to learn this in operations management, in economics, as well as in some other marketing also. We learn this concept of economies of scale and scope, especially scope in marketing. Anyone in the class who can guess what economies of scale mean? So, I will explain. Okay. See what happens in the banks. There is a theory of economies of scale. Here, look at this picture first. This picture will explain to you what is economies of scale. Then we will go to the text. Look at the picture carefully. You will see here that on y-axis here, it's cost per unit. Cost per unit meaning the production cost per unit. It may be the transaction cost per unit also. And here is the output. So, this output may be deposits or loans, whatever product a company, any company. So, this is applicable to every type of company possible. So, we can apply it in any sector, any company to find the economies of scale, to determine the economies of scale. Now, you can see here that when the production is when the output, yani how many loans you are giving, how many deposits you are taking. If the number of loans and deposits, if you have a printout of the picture, keep noting down what I am saying, because you may forget later. So, the output here in banking terms will be loans and deposits, transactions, and cost per unit means transaction cost per unit. Per unit means what? Loan or deposit. So, one transaction of loan, yani giving loan to one person, is one transaction. Deposit transaction means taking deposit from someone, one transaction. You withdraw money from ATM, that is one transaction. So, you must be knowing that when you withdraw money from ATM, is there any cost to the bank? What do you say? Is the bank paying something for the withdrawal we do from the ATMs? Do you agree or not? Let us see, what do you say? No? Let me just repeat my question. When we withdraw money from ATM, we do not pay anything for withdrawal, we just get the money we want. But what about the banks? Are they incurring any cost on giving us money through deposits? Is there any cost? Abdul Malik says, but it is your own money. Yeah, that is true. Let me again explain my question to you. Listen carefully. I am asking that we go and withdraw money, our own money, from the ATM. Suppose we have 5,000 reals in our account and I am withdrawing 2,000. So, what happens when I insert the card? I give my PIN, take out 2,000. So, how much do I get? I get 2,000 from the ATM. This transaction is complete. Once I get 2,000 reals, my own 2,000 reals from my account, the transaction is complete. But my question is does this transaction incur any cost? Is there any cost or free for everyone? Does the bank pay anything? Does the bank pay anything to complete this transaction? Think on it and tell me. You are all business students. Yes, maybe the receipt costs and what else? Electricity. You go to ATMs, you see air conditioner is working, the machine is working, there is a staff who refills the cash, there is the machine which needs maintenance. So many costs are there. So, where does this cost come from? Who incurs the cost? The bank incurs the cost. And how do they make up this cost from? They make up this cost from their income. And why do they give us free? Because they are making money from our money. isn't it? They are making profits from our money, which is kept as deposits in the bank. This should be clear to all of us. The money that we kept in the banks use it for giving loans or investing, and from the income, that income they will give us free of cost ATM, they will give many other facilities, online banking, all of it are free. So, every transaction, whether we withdraw money, whether you go and deposit a check in a branch, you withdraw money from a branch, you take out an ATM card, suppose your ATM card has expired, you go to the machine and print a new ATM card, all of these are transactions. On the other side, from the loan side also, the borrower person will go to the branch, or he can also apply online the loan amount, he will fill all the details, but is it free? No, the bank has to pay for it. The bank has a system, there is a technology cost, all of these are there. So, what happens when a borrower and lender will directly meet, the cost will be high. And what do banks do? The number of transactions, when it starts increasing, look at the graph now. It is very important for you, not just for this course. This course, it is not, it was not important for me to teach the concept of economies of scale. You should have known it earlier, because it is taught in economics basically. But again, if you do not know, understand it very well, especially in operations and economics, this concept is very, very important for you. See what happens when I make one transaction, the first transaction, look here, these are maybe the first transaction or 10 transactions. The cost is here, cost per unit, cost per transaction. Suppose the first 10 transactions cost the bank 100 reals. That means 1 unit 10 reals. As soon as you can see, as soon as the number of transactions are increasing till here, the cost, transaction cost is constantly decreasing. Why does it happen? Any guess? It is very logical, just think on it. Why will the cost, suppose think of one ATM machine, think of just one ATM, you go there, you withdraw money, you are the first customer. What happens? It is the first machine we we set up in a place, you were the first customer, you went there, withdrew 100 reals. So, what happens? The first transaction included the cost, all the cost, fixed and variable, and then what happens? The per unit cost was high, but as soon as the transaction cost increased, the fixed cost remains the same, there is no difference, the fixed cost remains the same, the machine cost, everything is the same, there is no change in that, only the transaction number is increasing, because now the ATMs in complete 24 hours, an ATM can work 24 hours. So, every 5 minutes a customer goes to the ATM. As the customer increases, the cost per unit also goes down. Why? Because the fixed cost is the same. The machine cost, electricity cost, they do not change. It will be there, because you must have seen ATMs, sometimes ATMs are empty, nobody is there. Still the machine is working, electricity is working, everything is in place. So, with the number of transactions, per unit transaction will come down. So, first transaction maybe it costs bank 100 reals, but the next transaction will come down to 50, then 10, then 9, and this way up till here, up till this point, this will be the economies of scale. So, what is economies of scale? Here, look at it here. As the volume of transactions increase, the cost per unit of transaction decreases. This is a theory. This is a theory which is applicable to any type of business. Think on it properly, not just of bank, for any business. As you increase the volume of transactions, or volume of production, the cost per unit of transaction decreases. Did you understand? Is there any doubt? Did you understand this? It's a very logical, very simple. Okay, all of you, you understood that as soon as why is it so? Why is it so? It is because the fixed cost, there are two costs in any operation, two costs. One is the fixed cost. So, in the ATM center, the ATM counter, you have a machine which is the main cost. Maybe it may be how much? 200,000 reals for the machine, or 300,000, maybe more or less, I don't know, I am just guessing. These are the things, when you do a project, you go to banks, you have to find these information. How much is the cost of the machine, whatever your interest area. I don't know if you can do a live project in this semester because of the restrictions, but just for your interest, if you wish, like, you can keep talking to bank managers, ask them. So, that is the main cost. Then electricity is there, you have some maintenance. Now, each transaction, that cost is fixed, whether a customer goes there or not goes there, the cost is fixed. And once the customer starts going there, one customer means cost is same, one is 100 reals, two is 100 reals. So, when two is 100 reals, one becomes 50 per unit. When 100 reals, one becomes 10 reals. So, this way the cost per unit keeps going down. Another example I am teaching you, suppose I am paid on hour basis, I am getting 50 reals, only one student is there. So, if only one student is there, the cost for one student is 50. If there are 10 students, the cost for 10 students is 50. That means for one student it comes down to 5. That is economies of scale. Very simple concept, but it is a concept that you must know, and it is applicable in all types of business. So, why does bank, how does bank enjoy the economies of scale? Because they are the center of lenders and borrowers. Many borrowers and lenders come. So, transaction number is very high. Because the transaction number is very high, the per unit cost comes down. So, when we go for direct financing, I would like to lend money to someone, my cost will be very high, information cost, search cost, monitoring cost. So many costs are there in giving loan to someone, and then I will make an agreement. Whereas, the same process in a bank will be very less. Why? Because they do multiple transactions. So, the cost per unit will go down. Secondly, by focusing on growing in size, financial intermediaries are able to draw standardized contracts and monitor customers. What does it mean? Where does it apply? It applies mainly in the loan side. So, when the banks give loan, they don't have to do much efforts, like they have to make contract, write everything. Everything is standardized, it's there in the computer. So, if the bank is giving loan for houses, for buying apartment to a customer, what does it do? Everything is finalized, the papers are all up to date, up to the mark. Now, the banks will just print the contract which is already there with them. They don't have to write anything here, there, because there is a legal team in the banks, all the banks. This legal team takes care of making the contract, so that if a borrower doesn't pay on time, the banks can take them to the court. Monitoring of the loans. Monitoring means, for example, you understand EMI. Have you heard of the term EMI in loans? What is it? In fact, not just in loans, even if you go to Extra and many online shopping, they are offering EMI. You can buy on EMI. What is EMI? No one? Do you know that a very good example is the Extra Superstore? What they do? Yeah, very good. Taqseet. Yes, Yusuf, you are right. Is the qist. So, what they are doing, instead of buying the product on one go, I do not have the money to buy the product. Abdul Latif, Jameel, Extra, all of these are offering a facility to the customers. Anyone whose mic is on speaking? Okay. So, what they do? They give facility to the customers to buy the product by paying full cash, or they can pay in installments, equated monthly installments, EMI, equated monthly installments. Now, this installment, when you will add all the installments, the total will be slightly more than cash down. It is the same in the case of loans also, in the bank loans. So, banks can give you loan for installments. Now, monitoring means every month, the bank will send you a message that your installment is due on this date, please pay on time. This is monitoring. And if we do it personally, it will be costly for us, it will be time taking, costly. And when banks do, it is their job, they are professionals. There may be a system, automatic system, where they do not have to do anything, everything is in the computer. When the date comes, one day before the date, the message goes automatically. So, this way the cost goes down, system is standardized, and professionalism is there, high quality staff. Suppose you have just taken a course on banking and finance and financial markets, you know a lot, but still you can go and do more training, you can specialize in banking. What happens? You become expert. There are so many experts. So, when you go to banks, like go and visit Bank Al Ahli, Bank Al Rajhi branches, meet the managers there, ask them what is your qualification, what is your specialization. They will tell you, maybe they did some masters in banking, or some of them may be much more educated, they have some specialist courses. So, because banks are professional institutions, they will perform the same transaction in a much more efficient manner than indirect financing, when a lender and borrower will directly do. So, this is economies of scale. Okay? But the main concept of economies of scale is, with the increase in volume of transaction, the cost per unit of transaction goes down. Okay? Now, the second point, banks also enjoy, a bank or any financial intermediary, it may be insurance, it may be mutual funds, these we are dealing with in financial markets course. Here we are only focusing on banks. So, in the banks, what happens? There is another feature that they enjoy, because they are a financial intermediary in between the depositors and the lenders, which is called economies of scope. Now, economies of scope means what? There is a term in marketing, think on it and tell me if you understand. There is something called cross selling. You know what is cross selling of products? Cross selling, tell me, have you heard this term? Or try to make guesses, no problem, because you have to think. Search on Google and tell me what is cross selling. Cross selling of products in marketing. Yeah, like you have to sell more products. Can some other student try to have a better definition of cross selling? Then I will explain to you. Very good. Sell different products of, can you just, can any other student add to this? We are getting the good, we are getting good definitions. Abdul Malik said selling more products. Muhammad Punjabi says selling different products. I need to add slightly few words to make it complete. Who will add? Selling different products, selling an additional product and services from where? The same company or the other company? Same company or other company's product. In cross selling, what happens? Now I'll give you one example. Apple. You know, Apple used to make money not just by selling phones, but also lot of products are available to buy on Apple store, like iTunes, music, movies, so many things are there. That was a major source of revenue for Apple, and that was a new business model for mobile phone companies. Is this cross selling? Yes, this is cross selling, meaning that a company, any company has more than one product. So what they do, they try to sell one, yes, like suggest features. Yes, they will suggest you products. You are searching for something, they will suggest you a game, and you will buy the game. This is cross selling, and they have all the products manufactured by them in their company. So what happens is, when a customer buys one product, the company tries to also to attract him to buy different products. So suppose you open a savings account with Arab National Bank. It's conveniently located for you nearby, and you go and open an account there, just a savings account to deposit your money. When you go there, the manager or the person, executive who is there, convinces you to also take a credit card. So credit card and savings account, are they same products or different? They are different products, isn't it? One is a loan, the other is a deposit product. Now he convinces you, and you will prefer to buy credit card from the same bank. Why? Because, any guess why? Why will it be better for you to take the credit card also from the same bank where you have your savings account, current account? Why would a customer prefer to have his, suppose you are the manager of the bank and you see a customer has come to open a savings account, how will you convince him to take a credit card also, and what is the benefit you are getting as a credit card? We will have a chapter on credit card later after 2 or 3 lectures, but any guess why would a customer like to get a credit card from the same bank and not any different bank? Because the credit cards, you know, why do you take credit cards? Mainly for, what is the main purpose of credit cards? It gives us a loan, but it is not a normal loan. This loan is for, what is the main purpose of credit cards? Tell me. What is the main purpose of credit cards? It is shopping. Pay later, very good. Pay later, but the main purpose of credit cards is not to withdraw cash, rather to shop, to buy goods online or by making card payment. That is the main purpose. And you get loan, save the money. No, it is not saving the money. How is it saving the money? You use this money, it is given as loan to you, and in 15 days or 20 days you can pay later. But why does a customer, or why will it be convenient for a customer to get the credit card from the same bank where he has the savings account? Because he can make the payment easily. He can make the payment for his card easily. If you log into your bank account, online banking account, you will see that the credit card is also registered there, your savings account is also there. It is very easy to transfer money from your savings account to the credit card. So, that is called economies of scope, cross selling. Similarly, as you know, do you think, these are all general questions I am asking just to make you use your mind and logic. Do you think banks should advertise loan products? What do you say? Should they advertise loan products? Have you seen advertisements of EMIs? EMI is a loan. So, have you seen EMI advertisements? It is a loan because you take the product and you pay later. Isn't it a loan? Similarly, for the banks also, do you think loans should also be advertised, and why? What is the reason? Tell me. Yeah, but tell me, why should banks advertise for loans? That is the question. Loan is a need of a person. Loan is a need for a person, he has to go. People will go by their own looking for loans. Is it really? Isn't there any competition in loans? Do you think there is no competition in loans? Yusuf says yes. Why is there a competition in loans? If you say Yusuf, if you say yes, they should advertise, why? Why should, if there are, how many banks are here? 12 banks or 13 banks here? Why and they are fighting with each other for to bring customers. And what do these customers bring to the banks if they take loan? The loan customers, what do they bring to the customer? Interest. Yeah, here there is no interest, but there are service charges and there are commissions and there is a source of income here. Okay. So the bank's main customers are the loan takers, that is what we have to understand as a banker, that yeah, for very good Salman, for benefit to the bank, for income of the bank, profit for the bank. Interest is not here, we do not have interest here, but those places where there is interest, that is the main source of income. Here the income is through profit sharing or service charges, etc. But in nutshell, loan is the product which brings income to the banks. So, what happens when you go to open a savings account? You tell the manager that I want to buy a car, how can I do, can you help me? The bank manager will immediately offer you loan. He will take papers, all the documents which is required, and then give you loan, and he would like to give you loan. He would not say no, I do not want to give you loan, it is risky, loan is risky, how can I give you loan? That is not the case. They have a full structure and they want to give loan. So, cross selling means selling of two different products from the same company, and when you do that, what happens? You are reducing the cost overall of selling, of producing. Why? Because you do not have to, he is the same customer and you are selling both the products to him, you are reducing your cost. Rather than finding two customers, you are selling 2 products, 4 products to the same customer. Apple phone and accessories. As you go to the Apple dealer, you buy Apple phone, he will say, yeah, see sir, there is a Apple glass, you have tempered glass, you have cover, you have so many accessories, you buy from us, we will give you discount. Why is he giving you discount? Why is he willing to give you? Because you are a good source of income for him. You are an easy customer. He doesn't have to buy another customer. He doesn't have to find another customer. You become the customer. So, let us look at a summary of the economies of scale and economies of scope. Very important concept for you. Economies of scale is lower unit costs with larger plants, and economies of scope means lower unit output cost with more product types. So, if you have more than one types of products, the banks are able to lower the unit output cost, whereas economies of scale means as one product, when you increase the production, the per unit cost comes down. Okay. Now, let us look at the other part of the topic. We are moving on from the functions of the banks to understanding the transaction cost of the banks, how they reduce. We studied two main concepts, economies of scale and economies of scope. Is it clear to all of you, or you need some more explanation on both of them? But you read them, it's if you don't understand, I'll be helping you. Okay, very good. So let's move on to the next part, very important. Sources and uses of bank funds. So what is the main source? Even if you don't see the slide, you can easily tell me that the source of bank fund is what? Deposits. That is where the source comes from. Now, I will show you something very interesting, since it is very handy to use computers. I don't know if I am sharing my full screen or not. I will share the full screen with you so that you can. There is a very interesting movie. I will not show you the movie, but I will just show you the title. You can watch it at your own time when you get time. This movie is Other People's Money. Yeah, see this one, a very nice movie. This person, you can find it on Wikipedia, the details also. Very interesting movie, and especially for our courses, where we are dealing with money, where we are this sector, banks, financial institutions, they deal with money, and whose money? Other people's money. So this person, he takes money from other people, investors, and invests in companies, buy the companies, sells the company, and the story is about ethics, about the ethical issue of this person, why he is not bothered about employees, about anyone. His main target is to increase the value of investment by any means, and for that he is heartless. He does not think that if he sells a company to someone, employees lose their jobs. So this picture, if you get time, just have a look at it, see the full picture, you will enjoy it, and you will see that other people's money, many people are there, in the world, who didn't have a penny of their own, and they just borrowed from someone and became very rich. These are venture capitals, angel investors. What they do, they take money from others and collect the money and invest in several. They have the expertise to invest. With this investment, they become very rich. Okay. So in the bank's case, the main source of funding is customer deposits. And also remember, in the balance sheet of the bank, where is it reported? It is reported on the liabilities side. Very important for you to note that although this money is coming to the bank from the customers, it is not the asset, it is the liability for the banks. Why? Because the banks have to return the money. It is not their money, they have to return the money. On the other side, the main use of bank funds is loans. Main use is loans. Other investments and fixed assets are there, because the banks will also buy land, they will have profit, they can buy land, they can buy technology, they can buy many things which will count as fixed assets, and also they are now allowed to do some investments. So they do it, and all of these they become the asset for the bank. But the main asset for a bank is loan. Why is it an asset? Because it is the money that goes to the borrower, and the borrower will return the money with some profit to the bank. So it becomes a source of income. So, anything that becomes a source of income for institution is called, that is called an asset. So, this is a concept you must understand, that the banks have sources from deposits and uses as loans. Clear? So, this is a very important concept. Now, where do we write the deposits on the balance sheet? Asset or liability? Tell me. Which side will you write the deposits? Asset side or liability side of the bank's balance sheet? We got the answer, I think someone has answered. Let's see. Very good, Abdul Malik, liability side. All the students are clear why this is liability? Why this is liability? Because the bank has to return this money to the depositor. That's the reason why the bank will have to write it on the liability. Okay, then what is on the asset side? It is the loans and advances. I think it's enough for today. We should start the new lecture in the next class, that is the lecture 4th. We can stop here. This is enough for you to grasp. So, we will start the 4th lecture, that is bank activities and services, in the next class. Is it okay, or you want me to continue with the new chapter? Because if you complete one full chapter, it's better rather than starting a new topic today. Do you agree with me that I stop at this point? Okay. So, what you do, you revise the topics that we have covered. Today was the 4th lecture. Try to revise and see from the book, read from the book. If you have any doubt, ask me. Also, share your information on the groups, WhatsApp group, because it's important that you read newspaper. Like for example, just before the class I was searching for some reports. I found this. First of all, I will stop this recording.